Hey everyone, this is Kathy with the DP2 team, and this is a video of a new feature in DP2 version 29.1, and that's the Developer Hub. We call it DevHub in DP2, and it's an integrated development environment for enhancing DP2. Let me go through a few slides here to explain it, and then I'll dive right into DP2. So being that DevHub is integrated right into DP2 for developers, and we consider it to be a centralized gateway to building, customizing, and extending your solutions with greater ease than Notepad++, Programmer's Assistant, and the interplay between those two. Being that DevHub is right inside of DP2, we think it's going to be more streamlined for you. You'll have tools, resources, and workflows, we think, to accelerate your development efforts. You can explore, modify DP2 scripts, all within this integrated development environment. And DevHub, along with KPL Help, now KPL Help has been around for many years in DP2, but the two of those together make up DP2's integrated development environment. And ideally, they are the replacement for Notepad++ and Programmer's Assistant, but nothing's going away. You will continue to be able to use the programming tools that you so choose. But as developers, we'd love for you to give DevHub a go with its interplay with KPL Help. Compare that workflow to going out to Notepad++, having the right plugins installed in Notepad++ to access KPL stuff. And we just think it gives you a naturally more streamlined approach to your DP2 development efforts. Just a couple more slides here and then I'll dive in. This is a list of all the things that you can do inside of DevHub. A lot of these are not unlike the things that you could do in Notepad++. So I won't go through these things in detail, but you'll see things like auto completion as you're typing to get to functions, keywords. There's a whole lot more snippets of code in version 29.1, direct access to appropriate KPL help from DevHub. There's a lot of interplay between the two. We want to make it easier for you to go from a development task like modifying code or writing code in DevHub, then go to the KPL help for a function that perhaps you need to learn a little bit more about. Direct access to DP2 scripts. We think you're going to have an easier time of not only finding the DP2 script that you're looking for, but perhaps finding a function within the script, and then certainly finding files, that example files for your learning efforts that contain that same function, and access to various tools in DP2 that you used to get from the Programmer's Assistant, and a list of resources to take you out to the web to help you with coding activities. One more slide here, just to give you a screen view of DevHub. And then at the bottom here, you'll see a few different ways. There's more than a few different ways to open DevHub. You can open up DevHub from the edit menu, from KPL Help. You can use your magic keys, Control-Shift-W, if you have admin privileges. And again, there's a lot of built-in workflow interplay right inside of DP2 to get you working efficiently between both DevHub, your editing environment for your DP2 or custom scripts, and then accessing KPL Help. So let me switch over to DP2 and I'll get started there. Here in DP2, I'm going to open DevHub from the edit menu. So that's a new menu item here in 29.1 for Developer Hub. DevHub opens pretty much full screen. There can be a lot going on. I'm going to zip up the order entry taskbar just to get that out of the way. One of the first things I'm going to do is point out that you're sitting on the Edit tab where you would do your script editing. I'll bounce back to this tab and spend some time here in just a moment. I do want to take you to the About tab that by and large gives you the same information that I just walked through with you in the PowerPoint presentation, just introducing DevHub. I also want to point out the chapter book here, which will open up DevHub Help. You can see how the whole screen here is being utilized. which is the same in many cases here in DevHub. This will be a work in progress that our developers are going to continue to keep on working on for you to document DevHub. There's not a tremendous amount of information in here yet, but it's super helpful. So read through that when you get a chance. And then there's a section on updating your DevHub help, and you're probably already used to updating your KPL help. So when you do so, you'll also be updating the help here in DevHub. And I'll just quickly remind you of that process. Just click on the link, Updating Your KPL Help, which opens up KPL Help. It's labeled KPL Manual on the title bar. Takes you right to that file, double click. It's just a two-step process to check for new KPL help. You don't need to be on a new build. Our developers are always updating KPL help, so you can always check to see what's new out there and go ahead and download it. Hopefully you're used to that process. I want to remind you of request documentation over here on the right. If there is something you need help from the developers on, might be a routine or a function or whatever it is, go ahead and let them know what the topic is here, submit that request, and they can likely turn that around for you pretty quickly. So I'm just going to close KPL help for now. I'll come back to it. And then I'm also going to zip up the right-hand side of the screen, which can be done with a double-headed arrow. And I'll head back to the Edit tab. Again, the Edit tab is the tab that will open each time you open DevHub. But how it opens will depend on the settings that you have set here in the View menu, so I'll go over these first. These DP2 files are either loaded or not loaded automatically when you open up. So you can load them manually yourself if you don't have them set to load automatically upon starting DevHub up. There's a great tool tip here that will explain this. But in the View menu, if you do have preload directory on DevHub open selected, then those DP2 files will be loaded for you. If you add files along the way to one of those directories, that could be another instance where you manually load. You can also choose to show the directory on the left-hand side or zip it up if you need more room for your editing here inside of DevHub on the Edit tab. Live auto completion is an option. You can see if it's not turned on by default here, you could use Control Space to turn it on as you're typing. Show invisible characters is another option. I'll come back to this show prototypes as soon as I open up a file. You also have editor settings that you can interact with here so that the editor behaves in a way that you might be accustomed to using another editor. And also there are keyboard shortcuts, lots of those. So if you're into keyboard shortcuts, give those a try. Those will be helpful for you. So now that the files are loaded, I'm going to come here to this filter field and I'm going to type in, I'm going to grab the base HTML file out of the classes folder. So I just typed in the filter, criteria there, hit enter. You can see that the files that were loaded, match that criteria, are presented. And I just double clicked and now the base HTML file is loaded. I'm going to go back to the View tab to show you that show prototypes. This is pretty cool. And the size of the right-hand screen here depends on where you last left that. So it might be super big or it might be sort of on the small side, but I have it big so I can show you what's going on the right-hand side. You can see that 6 files are included in the base HTML file. They'll be at the bottom of the functions and method. There's 250 total of those. So you can see the name of the function or method in the name column. You can see the folder, the file name that it's stored in. A lot of them are in the base HTML files. But if I go to this one, text files, define grid buttons here, and click on that, then that file also opens. You can see it open next to the base HTML file. And it also takes you right to that particular function within the script. If you need some help on a function, you can select the function. I just double clicked on it. You can right click and you can look up that particular function in KPL Help. So that will launch you back into KPL Help. And if there is help for that particular function, you could double click on it. All of the matches will appear there. And you can see that there is help in KPL Help for that particular function, and you probably know how to interact with KPL Help by now to expand those descriptions. So you can either close KPL Help, or you can leave it open, and you can just click on the DevHub button to take you right back to DevHub. I'll zip up that side of the screen. Some other things that you can do here from the file menu, you probably won't be too surprised to see some of the functions that are in these other menu items. You have all your file type menu items. You could launch this file in the Scratchpad, for example, here in DevHub. If you wanted to do some testing there instead, you could certainly open it up in Notepad++. You have access to your recent files. The Edit tab, you won't be too surprised to see the items that are in here along with their shortcuts. Search the same way, searching for something within your file, and also you have your select menu. I'm just going to head back to this base HTML file and just show you something else here. If you needed to add, for example, a different snippet of code or something. I'm not doing anything realistic, but I'm just going to start typing in here. Let's say if else or something. And you can see that there's a lot of snippets. In fact, there's many more snippets of code for you. You can see as I'm hovering over these various flow control, this if else clause for this one, for example, it does give you a preview of that snippet of code. You can see it over here. If you select it, it inserts that structure for you. So many more snippets of code here in version 29.1. And I think a lot of what's left here in DevHub, if you go through the tabs, are relatively self-explanatory, but let me buzz through these. I'm going to go to the Find tab and just use various examples here. I'm going to look for errors, as I just typed in there. There's a directory drop down. In session logs, I'm going to go ahead and hit the Find button, and that will go ahead and search for that item, error in this case, in those session log files. You could be searching for something that is actually taking a lot of time to find all of those instances. You can keep your eye on the status bar here on the bottom. And if that's still chugging along, but you already have found what you're looking for, there's the ability to stop that process. And also, if you select a line and you choose this DevHub button, it tells you to put your cursor on a row to view this particular file, that particular line in the file on the editor of DevHub. So you can see I'm back in the editor. That log file opened, and the line that I was selected is highlighted within that file. And let's see, to show you the Scratchpad, I'm going to just open a custom little 3-button dialog, little script. I have it open in the editor, but I am going to use the file menu to open that up in the DevHub Scratchpad. So on the Scratchpad tab. And you're not unfamiliar with a lot of these tools from the Programmer's Assistant, Scratchpad, debug, run, tools and resources. I'll get to those next, but we just hope that the integration of this development environment inside of DP2, DevHub, along with KPL Help, is a whole lot more streamlined than working in the Programmer's Assistant and also Notepad++. So I'll just go ahead and run this. Those screen responses appearing here, just what you would expect behavior to be in a Scratchpad when you're testing out a custom dialog with a few buttons on it. I'm just going to close that. The scratchpad.txt file is being saved. You can see the end of this path there with the contents that are on the screen right now, and the screen can be cleared. Moving on here, I'll just go to the Tools tab. A lot of these tools are tools that you did have inside of the Programmer's Assistant. Your SPY, application tree, killing background tasks. Please take notice that you do have the option in here to run scripts from text files from your local system, just like those 2 checkboxes at the top of Programmer's Assistant that I'm sure you're familiar with. Your third-party tools and magic keys are listed here as well. On resources, many of these will take you out to the web to show you web resources for these. You could access KPL Help. That just very quickly switched my screen to KPL Help. I'll click on the DevHub button to go back. This might be helpful that you can open up KPL Help inside of a browser, and then your browser window, for example, this one here, could be dragged to a different monitor, something that you can't do with the KPL Help window inside of DP2. And bouncing back to DevHub just one more time, I started out on the About tab and told you about these other items, so I'll just wind up here back on the Edit tab. So we really hope you as programmers give DevHub some time, give some attention to DevHub and the interplay with KPL Help. We hope it gives you a more streamlined experience for your scripting and coding needs. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Please reach out to us with any questions or needs that you may have. Thanks so much.